So today I want to share the story, or I guess the journey of how I became a yoga teacher. As I am preparing to step into the role now as a yoga teacher trainer, it really has had me reflecting on my path of yoga, throughout my practice myself personally, but also to becoming a yoga teacher. So I thought it'd be really nice to share this here with you, because I think it's like really interesting sometimes just to hear people's stories and their journeys, and especially if you're someone who is considering becoming a yoga teacher, to hear from someone who's walked the path before you. So if we can go all the way back to 2010, I just moved back to my hometown, and I had I had always been interested in health and fitness. So I was the gym girl. I was working out, walking, running, doing all of the things, and interested in nutrition and all of that side of things. So that has been something that's always been really present in my life. However, when I moved back, I had some beautiful people around me who were already on the yogic path, including my ex-partner, who is an amazing yoga qigong teacher. So I had all of these beautiful people in my life who were already on the path, and that piqued my curiosity. And so from there, I started dabbling in the practice of yoga just at home to start. I guess you could say I didn't really know what I was doing as such, but rather I was being intuitively led or guided, or just moving and breathing and just doing things that I felt that I needed to do in that time. Until it got to the start of 2012, I decided, all right, I'm going to commit to this path and devote myself to this practice. And I went to my first ever official yoga class at the local yoga studio. And that for me was a really catalytic moment that changed both the course of my life and also my career, my profession as well. And so from there, I had 5 years starting from the studio practice, as well as still continuing my home personal practice. 5 years of being super devoted and super committed to walking this path, to learning, to my own personal growth and practice. I activated my inner nerd, and I was reading all of the yogic books and texts, and I took every extracurricular class or course or workshop that was available in my area, because I was just so hungry to learn more about this practice and ultimately about myself. And so after 5 years of immersing myself in that, I had a nudge, an intuitive nudge, intuitive guidance from within that, yes, I want to deepen my own practice, I want to deepen my knowledge, and I want to share the gifts of this practice with other people, which I had palpably felt in my own life. And it gives me goosebumps now to even still think about transformative this path has been for me. And so from there, I started researching yoga schools, because, back in those days in 14, 15, the online space hadn't really kind of evolved that much as yet. And so there weren't many options for online trainings. There weren't certainly any options to do yoga teacher training in my local area. And so I was researching, and I came across quite a few yoga schools that looked really good. And I came across My Health Yoga, which is where I ultimately decided to train with, and who I am collaborating with for my first in-person yoga teacher training this year, which is really exciting. So I enrolled with My Health, and most level 1 yoga teacher trainings these days especially are only about a 200-hour training, whereas the My Health is 350 hours. So that was one of the things that stood out to me to want to sign up for their program, because it was a lot more in-depth. They also offered the theory and the philosophy online, so that was really helpful for me because then I was able to study at home and then do all of the practical, and I was still doing 3 studio classes a week plus my home practice, so I was still getting that hands-on experience with my local teacher and mentor as well. So it took about a year or so, I think, for me to complete all of the requirements and do all the practical to be able to then finish my certification and step into the role as a yoga teacher. So I taught my very first class to 3 of my besties on the beachfront. And, you know, when you step into something new for the first time, it's always a little bit intimidating. You know, it feels a bit scary, but this is the way that we grow and change and evolve and step into something new or onto the path that we know that we're destined to. So that was my first ever teaching experience with my besties, and then from there I was offered regular class time slots at the local yoga studio, which I was so grateful for, and from there I began to start to fully step into the role as a yoga teacher. So, you know, welcoming students from my local area to my class, and I was really just teaching more yang style yoga than more, you know, hatha kind of style classes. And then a couple of years later, I think it was about 2018, I decided to sign up for my yin yoga teacher training. So again, this was a really important part of my timeline because now yin yoga is what I specialize in my offerings, which is so beautiful. So through, I guess, that yin yoga training, and also through having mostly neck injuries throughout my time, it really invited more of a softness in my body and my practice, and I was almost forced to just soften my practice a little bit, and I can see now why that happened, because it was guiding me onto my path where I am now. And so from there I've continued teaching, and as I mentioned, I'm specialised in yin yoga now, so that is all that I teach is yin yoga. And if you've been practicing with me for a while, or you've done my classes on YouTube, my style has definitely changed. So my teaching style and my personal practice look nothing like they used to, and that's not a bad thing. It's a good thing, because that's how we evolve and change and grow. So as I said, I don't really practice or teach any yang style of yoga anymore. My personal practice consists of qigong, gentle floor-based yoga flows, yin yoga, meditation, breath work, and acupressure. And so if you've been to any of my offerings, you will have experienced that as well throughout my teaching. So, for me, my practice and my teaching is about, taking the time to come home to yourself. So tuning into your body, your energy, your breath, your emotions. It's a place for you to check back in with yourself, your intuition, and just to take some sacred time for you to slow down to your own rhythm, not being dictated by the external world, to slow down to nature's rhythms, and just, ultimately take some time for yourself, your body, your mind, and your soul. So that's a bit of an overview of where I've been on my yoga journey and where I'm heading. And as I said, I am hosting my first ever level 1 yoga teacher training this year, which is really exciting. So you can check out the information for that below if you feel called to. There's also going to be some online offerings this year as well, so really aligned with yin yoga plus some other practices that I've been working with in my own personal practice that I want to share. So if you're feeling called to step into the the path as a yoga teacher, I can highly encourage it. It's absolutely changed my life. I know that I'm here for that reason, and so I feel so incredibly blessed to be able to do this as my career. And I hope that me sharing some of my story has helped you to, or inspired you to follow that nudge if you feel the call as well. So if you have any questions about, stepping into the role as a yoga teacher, please reach out. You can leave a comment below. But otherwise, thanks for listening to my story, and I'll see you again very soon.